the beat just keeps playing in my head.
I know. It's like the best intro song.
The best?
Yeah.
The Mando one was really good, though.
Yeah. They're both pretty sweet.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with remixes of Star Wars intro themes.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Shout out SJT. Thanks for letting us
SJT,
use
shout out.
Book Boba Fett theme remix.
But yeah, welcome to episode 2, technically 3, but this will be covering episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. I'm Nick. Joining with me is Mike and Chad.
What's up? What's
welcome,
up?
gents. Welcome to the show. Glad you can make it. Each of you.
Indeed.
How many times did you guys watch this episode?
Twice.
Same.
Twice. Same here as well. I always enjoy my Wednesday watch and then the Sunday rewatch.
Yeah, I forgot about it on Wednesday. I didn't watch it for the first time until last night.
That's okay.
And then once right before the show, obviously.
And I will say, and I'm pretty sure I thought about this when I hit play. I was like, whoa, 53-minute episode. And it ends at 48 minutes. I am thoroughly impressed that we got that far. Because I feel like that's the longest either Mando or Boba Fett, even though there's only 2 Boba Fetts, but there's no Mando episode that I know of that goes that long. Maybe a finale.
I don't know,
Maybe,
but
I don't know. I can't remember what the finale.
I felt like this one was. I didn't feel like it was that long though. The first time I watched it, I thought it went by pretty quick.
That's what I'm saying. That's that for me. I would rather have every episode be this length because then it feels like, the wait from week to week isn't as terrible. If it's a 20-minute episode, it's like, come on, dude. Like, what are we even doing here? You couldn't combine 2 episodes and make the season shorter to make this like it's worthless.
Yeah, and I think, between Wednesday and today, like just thinking about the episode, I was like, you know what? That was a lot more happened in that than obviously I felt like I think I was just really impressed the first time I saw this episode. But then like thinking about it, I'm like, and that's why I went fast. But thinking back throughout the week, I was like, they actually put a lot in this episode. And I was like, oh crap, the write-up's going to be like forever long. But as I was writing the recap, I realized that it was less so much like dialogue context, and a lot of it was a lot of great just like visuals of the Tuscan life and like all these hints and clues and details we get on that. And that was the majority of the episode.
Right.
Yeah. Real quick, want to say hi, peace, love, Ames. She says, I wanted to come say hi, but I haven't watched Boba Fett yet, so no spoilers.
Well,
I have to go to bed for work tomorrow. Okay, bye. Well, thanks for popping in, and maybe watch the episode and then come back and listen because there will be lots and lots and lots of spoilers. Also, Cozy Contagion many minutes ago said skadoop. So yeah. But yes, lots of I really appreciated the look into the Tuscan lifestyle. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I guess, not to jump ahead a little bit, but this is just like a very high level observation. And I think it's always kind of been there, but they're really leaning into it with the Book of Boba Fett here, in that the Tuscans are essentially like Native Americans-esque, and just a lot of good themes there. And obviously once you throw a Western train into the mix,
right?
It couldn't get any more clear what you're trying to say there.
Yeah, I think for my money, like I said last week, I wanted to see more of the Tuscan stuff, and this episode really nailed it for me, to be honest with you. And I said last week that I thought they reminded me of Native Americans, and this episode kind of drove that home for sure, especially with the final scene there. But yeah, man, I loved this episode. I got to be honest.
Yeah, and right when they kind of like do a cool reveal like intro right in the first sequence, they instantly just like pan away from that and they go into might be one of the bigger like Tuscan sequences we get. And honestly, we might lose the Tuscan sequences halfway through the show.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking also.
It might like there's 7 episodes, so maybe like 4 or 5 we may not have any more Tuscan action potentially.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one for sure.
But so what would you guys think overall before we get like into the nitty gritty. Good episode.
Solid episode.
What was the enjoyment factor for you guys?
Chad?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that all the Tuscan stuff, I'll take as much as that as they can give me because, like I said, we rarely see that stuff. So I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the Solo-esque train scene, which I thought was really cool for just an episode. It was cool to have such an action set piece on the episode like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the beginning part I really liked too, but they just cut away from it so quickly that it's like might as well not have even been there for me.
True. What about you, Nick?
I thoroughly liked it. Like, I think, I guess, like, first episode, really good. But, like, this one is really, really good. Like, this one's probably, like, a 10 out. This is probably in the running for the best one of the 7-part series, potentially, just because length and, like, all the stuff they cover. And, not to jump to the end, but the punchline, if the punchline for the first episode was give Boba Fett some freaking water, the punchline for this episode is Boba's reborn in this episode. Like,
for sure.
This kind of really quells or answers to a lot of, if anyone was ever saying like Boba's a lot different in like Mando in this than he is as a bounty hunter in episode 6 or episode 5, the movies. This really kind of explains it. He's really reborn through this Tuscan Raider experience with them. Much as I mean, I guess I'm on Showboys, but is this like a Dancing with Wolves thing? Like that movie? Like, is that about? Like,
kind of, yeah. That gave me the vibe for sure.
Right, like that's kind of the story here. Like, outsider from a different world is in with like the natives of a strange land. That's kind of the big theme here.
Right.
So it's the retelling of that story, but in Star Wars, which is great.
They should rename the series to be The Baptism of Boba Fett.
You're right.
So, I mean, really, that's what we're seeing, right? That goes with your reborn comment there, Nick. I thought it was funny how I don't think it's funny, but we were pretty accurate in episode 1 as to the happenings in Mos Espa, and then also with kind of the route that the Tuscan storyline would go. So it was cool to see those kind of come to fruition for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you ready to get into it though?
For sure.
Yeah.
Roll up those sleeves, White Tim Pool.
That's right.
Lead the way.
That's right.
I don't know if you noticed, but I changed your name on here.
I did not notice that. I did not notice that.
Yeah, I should have just not said anything.
I guess that's good because that means I look at you guys and like the notes when I'm like on the show, and I'm not just staring at myself.
That's true. Yeah.
So I feel like that could be a bad habit for people.
For sure.
The episode starts off completely different than how it ends because we're still dealing with these dueling timelines, stories that they're telling, which is great. But essentially we get this high overview shot of the palace, which is great. And I instantly, two things come to mind. One, is this like the back door? Is this the side door? Because it's very different than the one that like R2 and 3PO knock on. Right. Because they kind of come in along like a footpath in like a canyon, but it's very much similar. And this back one is exactly from in Battlefront 2. There's a map of the palace, and I believe in Galactic Assault, where it's kind of like there's a defender and the attacker. Basically, if you push, you can basically push like the defenders all the way to this like back door, and you can just like pinch them back there and just decimate their team. And that was always a lot of fun to make that final push in that mode.
Yeah, I definitely think it is the back door for sure, because it does not look like, you're right, it doesn't look like the one from Return of the Jedi, right?
It's the door all the huts go through. They're
they're so big. They gotta go through the cargo door in the back.
Yeah, and I also was like, is this the garage where the where like
Oh yeah.
the sail barge goes, but I'm like, it's not quite big enough for that. So
True.
now I'm still wondering, where does the sail barge get parked?
Right. The thing that stood out to me in this episode was from our episode last week, the map of where this place is, like how miserable that walk must have been for them in the desert, walking from Mos Espa all the way back to the palace. That's where, like, as soon as I saw him walking, I was like, holy crap, like that's gonna be miserable. But they do have a prisoner with them, so
yeah, and I guess there's probably some research on the internet somewhere about like actual distances here, because we know the pike, like at the end, to Anchorhead from wherever they were in the Dune Sea is like at least a half day's walk. And like, yeah, like that's a good point. Fennec walked that assassin all the way from Mos Espa, which is pretty far per the map we looked at. So that's a good point. Like, why didn't how did they get there in the first place? Because the Gamorreans also had to carry Boba back to the palace for his back to treatment at the end of the last episode. So
right.
What we got here? We got portals. What is there? Like, is there like secret? is there a crate tunnel? So the crate dragon that they use to get around quickly.
That back to pod is really just like the thing that like the bank drive-throughs.
The bank like shoot
tubes. A little like money tube. They have one in the sanctuary in the back. Just like shoots it right into the palace.
Yeah, I just had to. It's funny you brought that up because I just had to explain that to my oldest son today, what that thing was at the bank, and he was like blown away by what it was. It was so adorable.
It's like, they're oddly futuristic once you get away from them. Like you never use them anymore. So you're like, you're wasting, like something goes in here and it shoots through a tube and goes inside.
Yeah.
What?
Magically appears.
You can't just
tell her.
Can't just text them.
He went through like a whole route of like, is there somebody behind that wall there? No, there's not somebody behind the wall. Is there? Okay. So they're in the ground. No, they're not in the ground. They're in the bank. Well, how's the money get to the bank? It was it was so funny to go through while we were waiting.
What? Was it not one where like the tube is like transparent and you can see it?
So the ones that chase, they go down, so you don't even see a tube. You just see the thing you put in, and then it shoots down.
So they're underground. I love it.
It just drops down. Yeah, my hometown, like they had the transparent tubes, and you could like watch them like shoot up.
Oh yeah. I think those are the older ones.
In your hometown?
Yes, Mike. Wow. Well, no,
Nick basically grew up in the Dune Sea in northeast Ohio.
We grew up like maybe like Felucia, like this. Oh no, it's Dagobah. Like there's a giant swamp. Like that's where we grew up. Out on Dagobah. Anyway, Fennec walks the assassin back a long trek back to the palace. They interrogate him. Boba wanted this one alive because he wanted to figure out who's trying to kill him. Obviously, anybody would want to know that. The torture droid explains that this guy is part of the Nightwind Order.
Yeah.
And they're very expensive, they're very elite, very prestigious. And Fennec gives us a little commentary here, like, here she scoffs at it. She's like, overpriced, you're paying for the name. I think she's suggesting you'd be better off getting some like an indie assassin like herself.
Yes. I just love the droid. Like, I need more Matt Berry.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
So far they've used him quite a bit for like the role he's playing. Like, he's just a help droid.
The torture droid.
Yeah.
Bloodthirsty droid. Yeah.
Vampire droid. But they lean a lot into this, like, he's not going to talk, right? But they just drop him into the Rancor pit, and just the idea that he's in the Rancor pit was enough to make him squeal and scream that the mayor hired him, and there's no Rancor.
Yeah,
right.
That was awesome.
I mean, go ahead. So yeah, I would do that exact same thing, because you got to think the Rancor pit has a reputation around town, right? So it's not out of bounds that I like the way they set it up, because they're like, oh, they fear no man, and then they were like, okay, well maybe he'll fear the Rancor, and they were like, oh yeah, he definitely does fear the Rancor, clearly. So I'm sure that it has, even though it's dead, that news probably hasn't gotten around. I would imagine that the Rancor and the palace is no longer alive. So
I thought we were gonna get the baby Rancor from Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Two things. First, I love the droplets of humor that are sprinkled in. The the 2 Boba Fett episodes so far. I think they've been pretty great. And then secondly, we get our first clue as to who really might have sent the assassin. If you watch with subtitles, which I do when I do my rewatch here on the computer, it says when he like retorts to Boba before they drop him in the pit, it says speaks Huttese. So it's like,
Oh,
interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll get there. But that was
it's
that
annoying
was the
that
first
stuff
clue.
is it's annoying that stuff is lost on people that don't watch on subtitles though. Like it could have used a hint because I don't watch subtitles. I don't know if Nick does.
Know that was Huttese. I mean, come on, guys. I thought you were
I
Star
knew
Wars fans.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, the second watch definitely you have to have subtitles on. It also helps with the typing up of the recap because you don't have to Google words all the time that you don't know how to spell.
Right.
I use it mainly for names when we're doing that because I'm just like, what was that name? Anyways.
But I mean, I was like 50-50. I was like, yeah, it's kind of weak that he like squealed over. He did like at least see the Rancor that it's real. Like it's just the squealing door that's terrifying. It's but makes sense.
I took it as like he thought that if he squealed before the door fully opened, that they would maybe close the door back down. That's why he was so scared. He wanted to spurt it out as quickly.
Didn't
as
even
possible.
want to mess around with the Rancor at all.
Once the Rancor is out, there's not really putting him back in there before he gets his meal. But yeah, so he claims it's the mayor, this mayor we keep hearing about.
Wait, before we move on,
yeah,
can we just explore the idea of Fennec having the throne and being paired with the murder torture droid? So I feel like nobody would ever leave the throne room.
Yeah, it'd be a bloodbath for sure.
I would love to see a spin-off like a Fennec
alternate
traveling
history.
with
if.
Matt Berry's droid.
Yeah, what if? Star Wars, what if?
It's just Matt Berry and Fennec just murdering everyone.
Killing everything.
Just randomly, one day, just randomly killing one of the Gamorreans for fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring us back, but that just popped in.
You just want a miniseries with Matt Berry in Star Wars as a torture droid.
Yes, I do.
Actually, the Night Sisters, right, on Dathomir, they're all very vampiric-like. Or like the legit vampires from Utapau in episode 3.
Yeah.
Like they look exactly like vampires. Yeah. Get the whole cast.
Yeah, exactly. Nandor, that's where Nandor actually came from.
Now we know. Anyway, Boba and Fennec and the guards, they head back to Mos Espa to visit the mayor. And they stroll right into the mayor's office. Interesting enough, they focus a little bit on like Trandoshans, like fancy Trandoshans, just kind of like eyeballing them in the streets. I wasn't quite sure like why, but we know that Trandoshans are eventually going to play a bigger part in this because in the trailer for the series, there was like an entire Trandoshan family or something. Right. So they're building up the Trandoshan element here. But we get another one of these comedic bits, like you mentioned, Mike, where they, we're looking at a very normal thing in life that most people encounter that they're trying to put onto like Boba, like a VIP, and walks into the office, the receptionist, I guess. And then
I loved him, dude. I thought he was hilarious, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Especially when he gets shooed away by, I don't remember the dude's name that the mayor's like, what that guy's name is, but he just like, as soon as he shows up, he's just like,
yeah.
And I love we get another callback to the litter. Like, I didn't know, I didn't see a litter. I hope that's like a running joke the entire series.
And that definitely what that is at this point is the running jokes like, where's your litter, dude? And and like this time Boba didn't say anything. It was just like blank face.
Yeah, I could imagine like the massive eye roll under the helmet.
Just fuming. He's like, I shoot you right now.
That actually, the two scenes in this little segment of looking at Boba's helmet during like moments like that, like those made me laugh out loud. Because I was just like, I love, because this is the typical like overreactive face that you would see in this scene, but he's wearing a helmet, but they
Right.
still like put it on his face.
Yeah.
You just see the helmet. I'm like, that's so perfect.
Right.
The blank, like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Look, but yeah, I mean, just like the first time we see that assistant, it's just like, it's satirical. It's just like mocking these common things, but in Star Wars with very serious characters, and
Right.
they just keep leaning into that just a little bit, just enough, I think. They go right to the edge, I think, sometimes with it. They get close.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I have the feeling they're going to cross the edge in this show if it keeps going this way, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Definitely the Marvel kind of like peeking out there.
Yep.
Marvel elements. But having no time for this crap, Boba just brushes right past him, around behind the desk, opens the door. The panicky assistant's just like, oh, you just can't do this. You don't have an appointment. He's disposed right now. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
We walk into, I mean, the mayor here has an audience chamber right behind the entryway. So this isn't like a very big place. It's just like the mayor's office, I assume. Then he has an audience chamber to see the plebes, the peasants out there.
which is odd to me. That was the one thing that was odd to me, was how small this room is, and I don't know why it just rubbed me.
No
the wrong way,
hallway.
but nothing. And Mos Espa, they show a panning shot of Mos Espa. It's massive, and this is the mayor of Mos Espa, assumingly, right? I mean, as far as we know right now, and he's got like this tiniest little room. I think the palace area is bigger than this. So.
I mean, maybe it's the daytime spot,
Maybe,
like the official, like, I'm the mayor.
Right.
Spot,
this is where I sit.
Yeah.
But it's like his office, maybe. Yeah, that could be.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting. I was like, we just went from front desk. There he is. He's right behind the wall.
Right.
So his name is Makshi Shaiz. They put a little bit of emphasis on the way they say that last name, but thank you, subtitles.
Yes.
Shaiz. He's an Ithorian, which is fun and interesting. This is something I'm very used to seeing in games, but it wasn't very new to me, because anyone who's played like many Star Wars games, very common to see an Ithorian, and they kind of talk out of the side of their mouth. So it was cool to see it live action. I don't know if it's been live action elsewhere.
Not that I can think of. Could be, but
I've really liked so far. I think this might be one of my favorite things about Star Wars. But just the diversity of like species and stuff in like almost every scene where there's a crowd. Like they're walking through the roads of Mos Espa, and there's just like so many different kinds of people and aliens and all that stuff. Like the mayor is, a different alien race, and then you go into the sanctuary, and of course there's mixture of droids, and I don't know, it's just I love seeing the range of characters, I guess, even though they're not, like, they're just extras or whatever, but the fact that they sprinkle in a little bit of everything is super cool.
Definitely.
I think that was a gripe against episode 7 and maybe 8. And then that's why episode 9 got like an overload of alien species, because they were like, they're all humans.
Right.
Slight undersight there, because people, even though the original trilogy is mostly humans, it's a human story. But when you get into like the wider universe, people do expect to see
more
the variety of species going on.
Yeah, I agree.
So Boba gets right to the point. He's like, yo, why'd you hire this assassin? What's the deal? Not cool. The mayor kind of acts like he doesn't know who this is. And he's like, you know who I am. Like, don't play no games. Right. And the mayor just kind of kills the assassin and just kind of thanks Boba and kind of treats him like a bounty hunter. Like, thanks for turning in this illegal, because they're not allowed to operate this order. Can't operate out of Hutt space. So a little bit of a reason there why he probably speaks Huttese, because he originates from Hutt space. And it's just interesting that, I mean, I don't think Tatooine is exactly in Hutt space. It's in the outer rim. even though the Outer Rim and Hut space kind of overlap a little bit. I guess it was important to note that Tatooine is not in Hut space. But meanwhile, it used to be, I guess, in some sense, because it was Jabba's domain.
Right.
And we kind of get a little bit of that later, too, here soon.
Yeah, I always assumed that this was like an embassy of some sort for the Hutts on Tatooine, not necessarily that they were controlling the entire area. So I think that might be the assumption for most people, or at least that's how I take everything from what we've seen, the Hutts on Tatooine. But
yeah, I always took it as like it was Boba, or it was Jabba's like his estate, like his getaway to get away from it all, and like he just kind of like in not retirement, but he kind of just enjoyed his time on Tatooine as like a way to get away from the rest of everything else.
Yeah, it's either that or it almost like to some point seems like a club of some sort, because you have like other people hanging out there in the scenes with Jabba, and then their entertainments like the Rancor. So I don't know. I think that it's either one of those two things, right?
Yeah, for sure. I never took it as like being he owned the whole planet. Definitely like kind of a good. It's like a club, right? It's the hangout spot. Like it's a central place where just all kinds of riffraff go in and out. And
exactly, the scum and villainy go to hang out when they're in Tatooine.
And Jabba just likes being in the mix. He's a social guy.
Yeah,
he likes being out and about. I mean, he has a sail barge that was a huge party, and he threw big parties in his palace. That's a good point. He was a party animal, and he was like, you know what, Hutt clan, like, you guys be all serious over there. I'm the cousin. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, he's like the Paris Hilton of the Hutt.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. He's like the rich kid who's just spending mommy and daddy's money doing parties and going on cruises and
buying Rancors.
Yeah.
I want to go to cousin Jabba's house. He sounds like fun. Or Uncle Jabba. He's the fun cousin. We get a little bit more though here from the mayor. Basically, the mayor's not acknowledging Boba, but they take the payment though, and Boba restates is like, we'll consider this the tribute that you owe me. But the mayor reminds him that running a family is a lot more complicated than running or being a bounty hunter. And this family, I would just assume, is directly talking about the idea of like the mob, the criminal kind of
crime family.
Crime family. So he's trying to tell him it's not as simple as he thinks it is.
Right.
Which is interesting. And then he kind of gives this weird, maybe you should ask yourself who really hired the assassin. So the mayor, I don't know, he's just kind of like, he's annoying.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like talking circles, and he doesn't really have much to, like, he's just kind of useless, but he's just adding like a weird mix to things.
Typical Authorian,
Yeah. And like the best thing he has to say is like, go over to the sanctuary and see what I'm talking about. And like, that's not the vaguest thing ever. Like,
right.
But of course, Boba, like, he's just a practical guy. He's like, all right, here we go. Come on, Fennec. We're gonna go to the freaking sanctuary. We were just there the other day, where we got jumped. So this is gonna work out. So they show up at the sanctuary, and Garsa Fwip, being the Twi'lek that we saw in the previous episode, who runs the place. In a slight panic, Boba picks up, like, what's going on here? Like, why is everyone like acting weird? She's like, well, you haven't heard? Well, apparently news around town, but not in Boba's world, that everyone else knows. Boba doesn't know for whatever reason, that the twins have laid claim to Tatooine. They are cousins territory, but they say bequest. I don't know if that's just like
did Jabba have a last will and testament? Like,
yeah. So they do. I mean, they do whip out that like hollow tablet thing.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I kind of somewhat predicted this last episode where I said that I didn't feel like this throne was going to go unclaimed by a Hutt of some sort. So as soon as they even hinted at it, I was like, oh, I know right where we're going here.
Yeah. I think Rachel in Discord also mentioned something about the huts as well.
Yeah, her
So
and I had
shout out Rachel.
Yeah, her and I had some good chatter there, where she was like, maybe Jabba's kid because he was in Clone Wars. So I was trying to like piece together, like, well, I mean, the best thing I said in that conversation was like, they really haven't alluded to what is going on, in the hut world
And with the huts, right?
with the
Exactly.
huts post Jabba, because really Jabba died, and I don't think much else has been done with huts in Star Wars. Unless there's stuff going on in comics, which I don't keep up with, but
Right. I don't either. Yeah. I mean, even in the original trilogy, they don't even hint at any other huts, right?
correct,
It wasn't until
yeah.
Clone Wars when we saw their kind of hierarchy.
Right.
So even leading up to Jabba, like you don't even know if he's, like we talked last week, you don't know if he's the last hut. I mean, he could be the last hut for all we know. But this episode obviously answers that question, I think.
Yeah, so like Clone Wars gave us a lot more like
Yeah.
that era worth of like how the wider criminal organization of the Huts works. We get it in other games and stuff, but this really, I think, the first like mention of them post Jabba, which is pretty important. Because, well, the other bit of detail here was, Boba's like, why would they should be preoccupied with the debauchery, I think the word was.
Yeah.
Debauchery on Now Hutta, which is the Hut homeworld. So apparently that I assume that means something like, tough or rough or something bad is happening
something
there.
Bad's going. Yeah, that's how I took it too, for sure.
That they should be attending to, these twins being Jabba's cousins. So that kind of gives us a little bit more info on, what's going on in the wider Hut realm of things. So apparently now Hut are their homeworlds in a little bit of distress. They should be dealing with that, but instead the twins decide, no, we want Jabba's party island. We'll call it Tatooine.
So are these brand new characters? These twins?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't know of them from anywhere else.
Yeah, for at least the animated stuff and the live action stuff, I've never seen them. Like Nick said, they could be in the comics. Maybe I don't keep up with the comics, so it's a possibility. But yeah, I've never even heard of them outside of this. So
nice.
And to run with the litter punch running joke, you hear the beats of a litter approaching, and that would be the twins' litter, which, like Mike likes, very diverse group of carriers of the litter.
I'm all about diversity.
I know, in Star Wars.
Yeah. And then the other thing I really liked about it is it's bending in the middle because they're so heavy. You can see the slight bend in it, which I thought was hilarious.
And they're kind of, they got the yin yang thing going too, because her tail's in front and his
like spooning twins. Yeah, really weird.
Maybe they're conjoined.
Could be, yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, it would explain why they would put two of them and try to carry them together instead of doing two separate things, which I feel like would have been much easier.
Yeah. Can I just say my gripe for this episode? And I'm probably going to get a lot of eye rolls. The volume of the drum beating doesn't change.
I thought you were going
to... They get closer, and the guy's standing literally right in front of Boba and Fennec, beating the drum, and it sounds exactly like it did the first time you heard it when he's talking to Garza. That's freaking right, Garza.
Yeah.
And then when they leave, same thing. So minor. I'm just like...
I thought you were going to go, my gripe, and that's a stupid gripe to have at this point with Star Wars, but I would have preferred like an actual Hut twin sitting there instead of CGI. I know that's like a pain probably to do more than, you know what I mean? Because Hut in like Return of the Jedi is not CGI as far as I'm aware of, right?
That would have been like a valid gripe. Mine is so dumb.
I thought, I thought it was
come on.
CGI.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well,
I just did the mayor. What's the mayor domo guys like?
Yeah.
Hey,
at least it's better CGI than the added scene in A New Hope that George added.
Yeah,
with Jabba in the hangar in Han Solo.
So is it true that scene originally? I don't think Jabba was a alien species originally, right?
So, as I understand it, I'm pretty sure that scene was like it was filmed. It's interesting because in that scene, Han steps on his tail, right, in live action. So, but obviously that was filmed before they ever could put a Jabba into there.
Well, hang on, I'll explain that because the original scene does not have him stepping up like that. And you can, if you go back and watch the CGI version of it, you can tell that they did that step up digitally because it's just not very smooth.
But I thought that scene wasn't in the movie at all, though. That was like right.
Yeah, that scene was not in the movie at all. It was a cut scene originally from the movie. But the original scene, Jabba was just a big fat crime lord dude. He wasn't an alien race. So when they decided to make him into
that makes sense.
The Hutt, then they had to go in and manipulate him walking on the tail, which if you watch the scene, it looks odd. Now that you know
George is so brave. I did not realize he moved Han like I did not. That makes so much more sense. So it's like he wasn't a character yet, but yet they had the detail of him stepping on his tail.
Right
now, that makes more sense.
If you go back and watch it, now that you know that, you'll notice how bad it stands out.
I think I was distracted more by like trying to understand everything else that was going on. Like they filmed this scene and he was like,
right.
Oh, George, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So the twins arrive on their litter. Drum beat, consistent the whole way through.
Consistent as ever.
So basically, they they're making not their case. They're just saying that the territory is theirs, and Bo is just saying no, it's not. And they whip open a digi tablet.
Yeah.
And
busting out the last will and testament of Jabba.
That's right. That he just like emailed to them like right before the barge blew up. So, like,
right.
Crap. Princess Leia's choking me out.
Just let me get this off real quick. Let me just send. Anyways.
I don't know why. I mean, does the sister speak
like just Huttese to the brother?
To the brother, she's too good. Yeah, she's too good to actually speak to Boba.
Yeah.
But obviously back and forth. Not a lot of very deep dialogue right here. It's just really them going back and forth as to, no, it's mine. No, it's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very anticlimactic.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. I did enjoy watching the Hutts through the whole scene though, because I can't remember. She's like fanning herself maybe, and then he's got like a rat or something that he's like
a rat
plotting his sweat.
Yeah. Yes. The second watch, I was like, I picked up the fan the first time, but the second watch, I'm like, oh my god, that is like, a tortured rat.
He's jabbing his sweat, his brow with a rat.
It's just like trying to escape. I'm like, ugh.
Probably smells better than him.
For sure.
And that's a callback to like Jabba had that, like, was it a frog or something? He was just holding it for a very extended amount of time, and then finally he eats it.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
But yeah, these two are a pair. They're your typical Hutts. They're just over the top slobs, gluttonous to the end.
Can we talk about like reverse Chewbacca that shows up?
Yeah. To intimidate, they bring out a Wookiee gladiator, which is fun. Why is he reverse Chewbacca? Because he's like mean.
Yeah, and he's like a different color, and he's like decked out and like
he's a hard ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gladiator.
So this, to my knowledge, is actually a character from the comics that works with Boba Fett in the comics. I could be wrong on the working with Boba Fett thing.
That seems kind of right.
He is certainly. I'm assuming that's who this is. They don't ever mention the name of it, of him rather, but I've seen him before. So I don't know. You want to do maybe a quick search, find his name. It's Black something. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Wow.
Wow. Canceled.
The first thing I thought of, which you guys are gonna laugh at me, but I mean, I can't help myself. But the first thing I thought of was a champion from League of Legends.
I knew it. How did I know that was coming?
Oh wow, it is him.
It made me think of Rengar, like so bad.
So Esquire here calls him Evil Chewbacca, but then gives him a name Black
Yes.
Chrysanthemum.
Yeah. That's it.
Say it in Wookiee. It sounds better, probably.
Probably. Crustate. Yeah, it looks like, to be honest.
KRR Santan.
Satan.
Croissant. You got to put a little roll in there.
Yeah.
Croissant.
Croissant.
So from my very little knowledge of him, I think he worked with Boba Fett, and I know that he worked with Jabba at some point also in the comics. So I'd be shocked if this isn't who this is and it's like a new character, but I guess we'll find out.
Right.
He was pretty gnarly looking though. I hope we see more of him because he looked pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like a duel between him and Boba at some point. Since it's a gladiator, we're gonna have to see some gladiator action. Maybe Boba gets tossed on a gladiator ring.
Oh yeah. It happens in it happens in Fallen Order, doesn't it?
Yes.
He gets thrown, yeah.
In with the very like I just think of like the Marvel gladiator ring from Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like that and you got to fight your way through. So your typical space gladiator ring.
Yeah.
I'm sure Mos Espa has one somewhere.
Oh, for sure. Guarantee it.
No doubt. But anyways, Boba offends the sister and she just thinks they should kill him as she whispers to her brother, sweating. But luckily, the brother is a little bit more passive aggressive and he just kind of ends the scene with bloodshed's bad for business. We'll deal with this later. Sleep lightly, bounty hunter, with his best mob lines he could muster.
Right.
So, Fennec,
so you really nailed that. Even though their tails are given the yin and yang symbol, they're both kind of like yin and yang.
Yeah,
also. You got the mean one and then the more passive aggressive one. So
let's just kill him. He's like, no, it's bad for business.
With his
the sweat rat, dude. So gross.
It's gonna be a meme.
Yes.
And the biggest reaction we get out of this is just Boba and Fennec are like, yeah, this probably isn't over. Like, we're gonna see more of this. Like, duh.
Yeah, obviously.
I hope. Otherwise, this is very much so the least climatic scene ever.
They never go back to this
again.
The rest of this this part made me notice though, as they walk away and the scene kind of ends. One thing that I appreciated a ton about Mandalorian and that I've appreciated in the 2 episodes we've had so far, Boba Fett, is the slight hintings of the theme underscored below like the actual score that eventually happens. So like as they turn around and walk away, you hear kind of like the drum beats from the theme, and then it goes into like a different musical thing. But I love that throughout the episode and throughout the first episode. But I mean, Ludwig is a great composer, so I wouldn't expect anything less of that man. So
SJT's his engineer. But yeah, that's all we get out of the this arc, right? And whatever you want to call it, of the series, which is not a whole lot. Like, it was just enough to keep it going. But now we get into the real heart of the episode.
Yeah. Episode 2B.
2B. Do you guys have anything else to say about episode 2A?
No, pretty straightforward, I think.
Yeah, I think they're gonna shift, and the next episode's gonna be much longer in the whole mob crime thing.
Yeah. My only hang up with this was, which we'll get to eventually. I figured we were going to go back to this point at the end of the episode, and it never ended up happening. I like the dual stories, but I like when it's split like that, where we tell something at the beginning, huge middle is devoted to something else, and then the end we get something else. And it never came in this episode, and it just felt odd for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think that was, they just need to really build up and end with that rebirth moment.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's true.
They spent their time, but sadly, I think that might be because this is the biggest sequence of Tuscan stuff we'll have. It just seems like definitely. That they spent episode 2 doing this.
Right.
So water. epic back to tank flashback sequence begins, because we're always having dreams in the back to tank, because that stuff makes you feel real funny. In the sands of Tatooine, we have Boba now, right? Being one of the tribe, being at least accepted amongst them, training with the Tuscan ninja, as Mike calls it, but I'm going to start referring to it as like the master warrior. Not much better, but it's what he is. He's not the ninja. He's like whatever you call the main warrior of the tribe.
Yeah.
There's the chief, and there is your number one warrior.
Yep. That's how
You
I
see
take
this.
him too.
You see this in all kind of tribal warrior things. They're not ninjas, Mike.
Right.
Straight up Tuscan ninja, dude.
Just because he's wearing black, he's not a ninja. All right, man. Let it go.
It's true. It's true.
But you know, we see a nice fight sequence, one of a few here, where Boba's just learning the ways of the what is it called? Not the bocce stick. I want to keep calling it bocce. It's
Tashi Station.
No, not
Is that what you're
Tashi.
saying?
No,
Oh.
the stick. The
thing?
stick is called something.
Oh yeah.
Gaffy stick. Gaffy
ninja
stick. No, it's the gaffy stick. Tuscan gaffy stick.
Where did you find that from?
I mean, it's what they're called.
Like how?
Can we get a?
What's your source?
Can we get a source? Yeah, that's what I was trying to get out.
The bibliography or whatever. What's that thing called?
Tuscan Raider.
Oh, I don't think that's the source. That just popped
Tuscan
in our
Raider.
comments.
Tuscan Raider rifle yields two results: the Tuscan Cycle rifle and the Gaddafi stick. But short version is Gaffy.
Okay.
Wikipedia is the source.
Wikipedia is the source, yeah, and that's your go-to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but as soon as we asked for a source, our sponsor loveface.xyz popped in the chats.
Is it something we're saying, or like is there something we do that just triggers it?
We'll have to look back. Yeah, we'll have to look back at the timing. 9:47.
If you guys are gonna spam our chat, can you at least give us money, please? Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
All right. Gaffy stick, you said.
Training with the gaffy stick. And Boba's he's trying to pick it up, but there's just tricks to this unique weapon that he just can't get, and they know. Then like this weird like sand creature. There's all these creatures that are just hiding in the sands of Tatooine.
So like, were they like raking to reveal the creature, or were they looking for like the black melons? Because I feel like they were trying to find a creature to hunt, right?
Yeah, but I took it as the black melons was the rake. That's what they were raking for, were the black melons, and then that thing just popped up, and they hunted it because it popped up out of the sand.
Because later at the spot, and they're also raking.
They're raking again. Yeah,
I love that. It's just like random
raking. Yeah,
little person raking right there in the middle of the sand,
and it's not very deep. And
no.
If from my experience, when you rake sand, I don't know, like a shovel does better. I don't know. Like,
right.
It's a weird thing to have. I don't think we're going to ever know the answer, but
maybe
that's how they farm. They just like rake the sand slowly until they turn up a gourd.
All the water pumpkins. All I could think about was like somebody in their backyard raking leaves or something.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this is going to take this guy forever. Anyways,
it's a lot of sand to rake.
True.
But, they kill this little thing that pops out. But the point is, off in the distance, in the valley of the dunes here, there's something in the distance coming over the heated horizon. And it's a mag train is what I'm going to call it. It's a hovering train that looks like a Western train because this is a space Western. And
right.
Star Wars can have trains, and I'm okay with that because I saw one in Solo, loved it, and I also like this one.
Yeah.
They do different things, and I'm happy with that. This one just was very much like, I don't know, just like the traditional basic Western, like going through the Southwest train. We just didn't have a bridge, right? That collapses at the end.
Right. Or a damsel in distress tied to the railroad tracks that they have to save.
Right.
Can I say what annoys the crap out of me about these train things?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, why don't the Tuscans just walk away when they see the train coming. It's not like it comes right through their settlement. Instead, they go and stand on the ridge. And
Right.
like, oh,
Yeah.
train.
Yeah,
Just
I
hide
mean,
behind the dune.
yeah, I don't know that there is anywhere to hide, really, though.
I mean, behind the
I
dune.
mean, they're in the but there's no real big dune to hide behind. Where is it? It's all flat through there.
Very true.
The only dune that they're standing on a dune. They can't really hide behind it because it's flat on top. So, and it's not like I would imagine they're not keen on running away from a fight if that's what they're getting into. You know, you never really see them running away from a fight. Even when Anakin's slaughtering them all in episode 2, they're still running at him. So.
Yeah, Mike, unlike you, when someone's like going on your land, you don't just run inside your house and hide.
Right.
If they've been doing drive-bys every time they drive past my house, I probably would.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
I'm not going to go stand in the front yard and just be like, oh, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. You make good points. Sure. But this train is loaded with pikes. Good to see some pikes, live action pikes. We last saw a live action pike in Solo, but just one because he ran the spice mine on Kessel, right?
Shout out.
These pikes, they love spice. They love dealing spice. The big spice dealers, which is essentially they're like heroin dealers, I guess, to like the mob scene, because at least traditionally, like the mob wasn't big into dealing heroin and some of the more badder drugs. Spice is both a hot commodity, but also looked down upon, apparently. But we'll get to that later. So this thing cruises through, kills a bantha, kills a bunch of Tuscans. Poor bantha, like he didn't deserve that. But that night, Boba's helping them bury or burn all the dead. It's sad. And he's just like sipping on his melon, and he sees the Swoop bike gang off in the distance riding through the night. And he's like, I got an idea. Goes to the chief and he's like, hey, chief, I'm going to take a rifle. I'm going to take a stick, and I'll be back in the morning. And we're going to stop that train. Stop the train. I love the spoken with the sign language. So
yeah.
Dude, is it like Spanglish? Like, do they understand both the words and the sign language, or are they only?
I think they understand the sign language, and he's saying it out loud, so we understand what he's saying. I think that's what it is, because you can tell that they don't understand what he's saying in any of the scenes.
Yeah, so. But they have like their Tuscan grunts though too that mean stuff. So it's like a combination of spoken and the hand signals. So.
And I didn't even know if it was like a hand signal language that he was doing, or he was just trying to talk to them using his hands and his voice at the same time.
Yeah, I think he was just like, guys, this might work. I don't know what else to do.
Right.
It's they have ALS in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's universal sign language. But yeah, he takes off. Well, wait first. I like that they call it a long speeder. He called it a train. They call it a long speeder.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought that was a nice detail. Makes sense. It's a long speeder. Very practical.
Yeah.
But he'll be back in the morning. Because I don't think in this culture, like I think he's like kind of stuck with them until he's allowed to leave. I kind of get that vibe a little bit.
I think it's just a part that he was their prisoner at one. You know, we started this with him being their prison.
He has like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like a permission to leave though kind of thing. But he's like, I'll be back. Like he wasn't just gonna leave and do it. He like needs permission.
It gives me like, to be honest with you, you said whatever cowboy movie you said earlier, Dancing with Wolves. This gives me like Last Samurai vibes, where he's learning their ways and he's starting to appreciate their ways, and now he's going to stand and fight with them because he sees that they got kind of a unfair shake at life.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he feels like he can't leave because he left and came back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So navigating what we're always told is like the very dangerous sands of Tatooine. You can apparently just walk across them at night though, like no biggie.
Yes.
and through the day and night. Like, it's just not a big deal. Even though I would never do that in the Sahara, I know I would die in like 4 hours.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Wait till nighttime to move, for sure.
Especially when you're wearing long johns.
Yeah.
They have built-in coolers.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Exactly.
Come on. So Boba just happens to know the saloon cantina that the bikers went to. So he heads on over there with his stick and his pajamas in the middle of the night. Walks in.
Can I just say one other thing real quick?
Yeah.
What a terrible place for a saloon. I just say.
So this
nothing around.
Nothing around it whatsoever. This is allegedly, and I'll say allegedly, it's been confirmed with footage from the scene they shot there in A New Hope that didn't air in the movie, but this is allegedly Tashi Station, which is what I thought you were talking about earlier. I guess the door is the exact same as the scene that they filmed there.
Yeah.
And then there was something I couldn't find really substantial evidence, but the two people inside of the saloon were like really good friends with Luke, apparently. I couldn't really find anything on that, but this is seemingly Tashi Station for sure. The friend thing, I'm not sure.
Remind me the importance of Tashi Station.
So
it's Easter egg from A New Hope.
It's basically an Easter egg thing. Yeah. What's his aunt's name? Baru says that he needs to go do the moisture farming stuff or whatever, and he says, but I was going to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters, and it kind of became like a Easter egg type thing. They originally filmed the scene there, and it never aired in the movie, or it was never cut into the movie. So
that's pretty cool. Nice little callback
for sure. Yeah.
A New Hope, particularly out of the original three, but all three of them, especially New Hope, anytime every piece of dialogue in that movie got picked to death.
Yeah.
Because it was all people had for years.
Right.
Like, oh, Tashi Station, like, what is that place? It must be awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So very infancy of like the storytelling. So fun place to put in there. I did not know that. That's cool. That makes sense. And like those were his friends at the time, and like all their friends are now dead, so they just had to like get together and go on dates to the biker bar.
Yeah. So it said that they were like a couple that were around the same age as Luke, and they always hung out at Tashi Station, and they had names and everything in there. I just never, I don't know if it's from comics. Fixer and Cammy, I think. Cammy.
Yeah, they definitely named the woman in the subtitles. I don't recall seeing the guy's name, but it was like Camme or whatever.
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
thinking,
so,
if I'm remembering right.
So there you go. That's so that is confirmed then that these are friends of Luke from back in the day.
Look at that. We're loaded with Easter eggs.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's why you come here.
Tashi Station, Luke's friends. But yeah, so I mean, there's a little bit there. It's not too important, but like, I think that makes sense though. Like if these two always hung out at Tashi Station, and now we're in like a post Empire, like it's just riddled with more crime and debauchery. So we just have this gang just making life unpleasant for people, and that's what they're doing. Like basically, the dude stands up for himself, and he's like, you know what, this ain't right. And the gang proceeds just to be bullies and like starts beating them up right in the middle of the bar. And then Bo walks in without saying anything, right? I don't think he says a single word. He just like kicks their ass.
I loved his entrance into Tashi Station, the shadow on the wall. I just thought it was so cool that you see a shadow and everybody's like looking, terrified at him.
I'm just double checking myself. I have the scene playing right now on my other monitor. I'm going to tell you what the name is of the lady. Okay. They haven't said the guy's name yet.
Yeah,
it's Cammy, Camie. So.
Yep. So yeah, it is Cammy and Fixer. There are comic characters allegedly that were friends with Luke. So that's cool that it's in there. That's another thing that you would have missed subtitle wise, and really another thing you would have missed entirely if you didn't know about the Tashi Station scene that was never even in the movie. So
yes,
it's definitely cool. I hope this isn't the end of the Swoop Bite gang, because they kind of went out like a bunch of wimps, once they met their match, instead of beating up on the innocent people in the cantina. But
I mean, Boba got to flex his gaffy stick skills and like do some hook slams.
Yeah,
and
those were awesome.
Some ball breakers.
Yeah, the ball breaker was funny too. Yeah,
I love the facial expressions that Boba's made so far in like every episode.
So that actually has significance in that is part of like his New Zealand heritage. Like they have like fighting dances, kind of very similar to he uses in Boba's like movements and stuff, and like that is part of his culture.
Oh, that's
The
cool. I didn't
facial
know that.
expressions, the
Yeah.
over exaggerated. Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
the very intense, like the eyeballs and like
yeah.
the way his face goes, like that's
Wow.
like supposed to be something from
It's kind of
you
like the Haka dance or whatever.
right.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's in the Mando like making of. They had like a little
Mm.
6-minute bit there on Tamir Morrison, and he brought a bunch of that from his culture into the character.
Very cool.
So yeah, so they do look a little ridiculous, but knowing that it's a little better. But very intense. Like
Yeah, at least there's an explanation
scary.
for it. That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's pretty intimidating if you're a bunch of drunk bikers.
And he's just like,
Sure.
"Ah."
Yeah.
I also love how everyone just assumes every species has nuts like between their
Right.
legs right there.
Yeah.
Like
It's like this. Yeah, it's all. That's the problem with all the Star Wars. You kind of got to take your disbelief as far as the science goes, but like they all have butts, they all have faces, they all have like what we would think aliens would look like.
yeah.
But you know, aliens in real life probably don't look anything like what we look like. So,
I love how you're like, they have butts and faces.
yeah,
you know.
right. It's like, yeah, you see a crashed UFO and there's seats in it. Like, what? How do you even know that they sit down? And like, it's
Right.
just you can tell
maybe
that they're fake,
they like
you know?
to stand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Boba makes quick work of them, walks out the back door after taking a heavy swig of a drink, someone else's drink. Not very germ friendly there.
Yeah, COVID conscious. Jeez, bro.
But he managed to wrangle up all the bikes together and takes them all back to the village by the morning, staying true to his word. So he returns and presents them as a gift to the chief, and this is part of the solution to take down the train. But instantly, like Tuscans like to do, kind of like their Jawa neighbors, they start taking apart the bikes. And he's like, no, these are mine. Like, I will show you how to ride.
Which is hilarious because he literally just got done saying, "These are a gift for you."
Right.
And he's like, wait, no,
Wait,
they're mine.
They're mine. They're mine. Yeah, I love that. I just liked it because it was like the missed in translation moment where he's like, these are for you. And they start ransacking it. Wait. These are mine.
They're for you, but you have to use them this way.
Right.
Exactly.
You can't just take them for parts. But yeah, he's like, I will teach you how to ride, using more very elegant hand gestures.
Yeah.
That are always very good. And essentially, he gets a loose approval, at least, from the chief because he just walks inside. So no words from the chief is better than words sometimes. And we get this very cool sequence of Boba teaching them how to ride the swoop bikes. And it's both comical, both very realistic in the sense that I've taken like motorcycle training courses, and very, very accurate to like how that all goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the very first sequence is like all like first it's like get on the bike.
Yeah.
Go forward, go backward. And then there is the everyone's on it going in a circle and like it's all wobbly. And so
yeah, I really love this sequence, especially when the Tuscan sits on it the first time and it just goes backwards. So it's the exact opposite of what Boba told him.
He's
to
like,
do.
it's like a bantha. And he's like bouncing around.
Like a bantha. Like a bantha.
Can we just take a moment to appreciate Jordan's prediction of the swoop bike gang though before we
for sure
move on? Because he called that one.
He definitely did. And
rest in peace.
And I'm equally as happy that we got to see it. Like I said, I hope we see more of it. I doubt we will. I think it's just going to be a little side piece there, but I'd love to see him come back for their bikes and then maybe another fight or something. So
yeah.
But yeah, at the end of but also in the training sequence, they're learning to hop from one bike to the other, which is cool. Right? That's kind of like a Western thing, jumping from horse to horse, and we see it in like everything else. So just still more of those themes of just how to fight and be warriors on a mount.
Yeah. with modern technology. Yeah.
Modern technology, machines.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was a pretty good sequence, and like this is what this whole entire like Tuscan part of the episode was like a lot of really good sequences, because that's what it was, just a ton of sequences and like just very little dialogue and like connecting pieces, and that's really what made the episode long. Is like they spent a lot of time showing all these parts to like what they were going through and what they were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to be honest, that was like the highlight for this episode for me, because that's what I said at the end of our last episode. I wanted more of that, and we got a lot more of it in this episode. So
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you that this is probably going to be not the end of what we see with them, but it's going to start to trail off here maybe after.
Yeah, it's definitely the bulk of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, having mastered the bikes, I guess I'm just gonna assume it took them a couple of days, or maybe it was just one day. Swoop
Quick
bikes doesn't
learners.
seem that hard. You don't have to balance them, which is like half the battle on a motorcycle. So
Right.
I assume they're a little easier. So we're back at the farm, I guess we'll call it, because they're raking the sand and
That's right.
they're just kind of doing their, they're not doing anything here. Like they're raking the sand, they're kind of hanging out, they're like practicing fighting. So I don't know if this is like the outskirts of their village. It kind of gets that vibe, like it's the farm, it's part of their village, and this thing goes racing by. So maybe like to your point, Chad, like they don't really, they shouldn't run away, or they can't run away because for whatever reason, like this is their turf.
Yeah, we've always gotten a vibe that they're very territorial through everything that we see with them. So yeah, I think it's out of the realm of possibility they would turn and run. It's just their turf. It's the Native American kind of thing going on there,
Yeah. So eventually, this time they're waiting for the train. The train appears, and then we are just blessed with this fantastic train. I don't want to call it robbery, but like hijacking sequence.
Yeah. Do we want to talk at all about the like training between?
Yes,
another kind of train. But the training between Boba and Tuscan Ninja.
I did forget. Yeah, this time with the duel between Boba and the Tuscan Ninja, that Boba almost bests him or her, and by hitting the gaffy stick, spinning into the air, but is able to duck, roll, grab.
Yeah,
and
it was
just, like,
awesome. Yeah,
it's like, nah, you don't got me, dude.
Yeah,
I'm way cooler than that.
Yeah, that sequence was so cool, man, because you think that he's got him, but he does that sweet roll and catches it perfectly. And yeah, I love it. It showed that I think you're right, Nick, that this is like the guy, the warrior of the group. Like he's the one that's the most versed in at least combat with whatever that stick is called, gaffy stick or whatever.
Yeah. And I love the like respect they have for each other now at this point. Like it's so cool. That relationship, I think. I mean, it kind of pays off at the end, towards the end of this episode, but I think it'll probably pay off again before the Tuscan Raider stuff is over.
I think you're right. I like I said, this is the scene that really made me feel or think of The Last Samurai, because there's a scene in there that's almost identical.
Right.
Where so that's kind of where I got that vibe. But yeah, I love this scene. I'm glad we didn't skip over it. And
it also makes me wonder, because I think about this when we're watching the other scenes with present day Boba. He doesn't have a lot of staff. He's got 2 Gamorreans, Fennec, Barry, and I wonder if the Tuscans will play a role in present day Boba at some point.
It could be.
Come in and help him out.
Yeah, for sure. It could be. I think that we might be heading that path. But Boba's always been like the lone dude, right? Like he probably feels like, at least at this part of the show, that he doesn't need that many people around him. But I think with the Hutts and with the mayor, that's going to change eventually, where he's going to need more people.
Yeah, because before I was like, yeah, he could probably deal with like the local Tatooine people, like the mayor and like whatever, riffraff that they throw at him. But now that the Hutts are there, like that's just a lot more firepower and staff on hand. So it makes me think that there's going to be some sort of showdown. Maybe they attack the palace, something like that, somewhere that's more in the Tuscans' element. I don't think the Tuscans are going to roll into town. That's just not something they do.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna make a prediction that we're gonna see the Tuscan Ninja and the Black Wookiee go head to head at some point in this show for sure.
That would be awesome.
That's the duel.
I think that's definitely the duel for sure.
I kind of want to agree with Nick that I think the Tuscan Ninja is a female.
She moves like a female, yeah. It
the
wouldn't surprise
smaller
me.
body stature, but also like the headdress. I mean, it could be that it's the like master warrior, but like it almost looks like it has dreads, you know?
Yeah.
And like all the other head dresses are like really tightly wrapped, but not this one.
And we also go ahead, Nick?
No, I was just gonna say in the first episode, I definitely had strong like female vibes from the character. They're a little bit more blended now, but yeah, not sure.
Yeah. And I also want to point out just something that's a little ridiculous with these Tuscan Raiders. How hot do they have to be and all that crap? Like, it's got to be ridiculously hot, right?
Well, not necessarily, because Saharan and like Middle Eastern.
Oh yeah, they do wear
people. They wear it's actually it's a cooling thing and a protection thing from the sand, but like keeping the sun off of you at that point is cooler than just being exposed to the sun.
Valid.
That would suck.
Yeah, for sure.
There must be a point like over 100 degrees where it's just more beneficial to be covered in layers.
Yeah. True.
As Ohioans, we could never imagine such a world. We just like are like, all right, we are just in shorts.
Right.
And it's like over 80 degrees, right?
Yeah.
Let alone life over 100. That's just not our cup of tea. But yeah, so train sequence, hijacking. This was cool overall because we have a little bit more of an organized effort from the Tuscan part because of Boba, because we have the kid running off to tell the snipers. So they do their usual, let's attack the train, and get just shot off get shot immediately.
Right, 2 of them, yeah.
but that was like the cover fire for the bikes to get in close, and also the distraction for the snipers to then snipe some of these pikes out of the windows. Very good shots with those cycle rifles.
Let's say it's some extreme Walking Dead accuracy where every shot, no matter standing still, hanging out of a car window, driving 40 miles an hour, is always a headshot.
Yeah.
They're speeding on a mag train through the Sahara, sniping Tuscans from like through a little fields away.
Yeah, through a little window.
Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, it happens.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of griping today. I just blame that on my.
That's what you do in that seat over there.
Yeah.
You just gripe the whole time.
That's true. Yeah, you're in the griping seat. Yeah,
you're in the gripe corner. You can do what you want. But we get the usual. The horses right up next to the train. They're trying to jump on. We got people shooting out the windows. They eventually get on top of the train. Got people popping out of the hatches. All kinds of fight sequences there. Obviously, this happened in Solo. This also happened in Mandalorian, if we remember. Mando had a very similar sequence there, fighting on top of
with Bill Burr.
Wasn't a train, but it was him and Bill Burr fighting on top of the big. What are those called?
Thingy.
Juggernauts. So they're all doing this, and like it's kind of going okay. They're getting roughed up. Tuscans are dropping, and they seem to be kind of pinned down by these pikes that got like they're on the roof, they're out the windows. And our masterful Tuscan comes swooping in, crashes the bike into the side of the train, dives through the door. Dives through the window. Of this thing, and we get this sweet little sequence. Very, we seen it in the Western where you're outside the train, you're just panning along with it, and he's just kicking ass all the way through the middle.
I loved it. I loved his entrance into the train because he goes flying in, and then somebody comes flying out immediately, which I thought was hilarious. I thought for a second that it was him that came flying back out. I could have used like maybe 2 more seconds. Yeah, 2 more seconds to kind of make it seem like it was actually somebody else flying out the window. That's a Mike gripe there, but
she's got better footwork than that, Chad,
right?
And getting kicked out that quick. But moves right through that car, wrecks a bunch of pikes. Meanwhile, our conductor, a fancy little droid with a bunch of little arms, just like
Yeah.
pulling all the levers.
Yeah.
The
There's
droid
like
was awesome.
There's like an engine boost to like blast them off the back, which was interesting. And this thing is just like in panic mode, like just trying to do whatever it can.
Yeah, it
It's like
is.
making
Yeah.
the train go faster, making the engine fire harder.
Yeah.
Um,
His look
Boba-
out the window and then his freak out was the best.
yeah, but I'm like, well, I guess they've bailed out in other movies before. As the conductor, you try to make a jump for it. But
Yeah.
other times they just get killed. I thought he was gonna die, but he did the little spider.
I love his look.
I love-
General Grievous like crawled away.
Yeah, I love how he just like looks at Boba and he's just like, peace.
Yep.
He dives out the window.
Ain't dealing with this. I don't get paid enough as a droid.
Man,
Boba-
I love the droids. They're like just low key steal the show like every
Yep.
time.
Yeah,
I love it.
definitely.
They're fun. They're fun characters. I mean, you can make them do anything you want.
Right.
That sounds really weird, Nick.
Not everything you want.
Nick's
but
over
most
here
things.
about trying to enslave
But it's-
sentient beings.
I mean, it's true. The droids in Star Wars have always been great, especially I can't remember his name
Episode
in Rogue
3.
One. Well,
Oh.
yeah, Episode 3, but Rogue
Oh.
One, the
KS2.
K2SO,
K2SO.
maybe.
He's up
Bob.
there.
Yeah, he's
Bob,
great,
shout
man.
out.
Yeah, the
He's
droids are
hilarious.
always fantastic.
Well, I always think of Episode 3 was a little heavy on the droid humor.
Yeah,
But like you can't do things with like humans where like R2 is flying through the ship hangar, hits the wall, and like
yeah,
it's
they're,
very
like,
comical. It's like
comic
Looney Toony.
relief. Yeah,
Looney
exactly.
Toony kind of stuff.
Yep.
I have my droid pop collection is growing. I have like 5 right now.
Dang. You have like a
Nice.
battle droid?
I have a dark trooper, which I'm counting as a droid, or
Oh, okay. Fair.
from
Is-
Mando season 2.
Oh, okay.
And then I have BB-8, another black R2D2 looking droid, which I don't recall the name of, K2SO, and then BB-8 is the white one with the orange circles, correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I have an orange ball droid, which I don't remember the name of that one, but
Holy crap. I was going to say, I was like, how would you make a B2 battle droid into a Funko Pop? They totally have one.
Yep.
That's interesting. That's the most unorthodox Funko Pop I've ever seen. It would have to be to make those skinny,
To
like
make it-
bony droids
right.
look right.
Right.
That's cool.
oh yeah.
You need that, Mike.
Dude, I need Matthew Berry's droid as a Funko Pop.
That has to be coming.
The torture
It's
droid.
coming for sure. Yeah. With as much as we've seen him so far in both the episodes, I think he's going to be the common theme in all the episodes.
Not yet.
Anyways.
Oh, dude, you need the chopper pop, dude.
What?
That thing
Yes,
is
I do.
exquisite.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Wow. Anyway, Boba
Probably
uses
also like $1 trillion.
dude. Yeah. Boba stops the train. It does the wobbly derailed. We derailed a railless train. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. First off, I kind of felt like this was a terrible game plan to do this. Immediately stop this train that's flying through the air, but it panned out to not be a bad choice. I thought for sure it was like, dude, this thing's gonna kill all of them. Like, how's it? They're going at like 300 miles an hour right now.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna be like, yeah.
My worry, it was like a worry, but it would have been cool. I guess I was like, does the Dune Sea eventually hit like a cliff and like we're gonna have
Yeah.
to like stop this thing into a cliff? I was like,
Yeah.
they'd really be pulling out all the cliche like stop the train.
True. Yeah.
But luckily
Dude.
they didn't. It just like wobbly kind of floats down into the sand. Luckily, unlike swoop bikes, which are always consistently hovering. I guess when you turn the train off, it just drops.
Yeah. So when they were doing the swoop bike like training, you saw the one that like hit the front of it. I don't know. So when you said that you don't have to balance them, I always assumed you had to balance them in some front and back wise.
Maybe
'Cause
that
you
a
see-
little bit.
Drags the nose of it
Oh, yeah,
drags
yeah,
into
he
the
does
sand
do
as
that.
he's going.
Probably when they're in like motion, they have to. There's a little bit more like maneuvering,
True.
handling
Yeah.
to it, but they just idle, hovering perfectly.
Yeah, right.
What are you looking up there, Mike?
The droid Funko Pops. The one thing that I was thinking of during the whole train thing is I was like, how far away are they from the Tuscan village now? Because they've been on this train for a while and going so fast.
Yep.
So, and then when all the Tuscans come like running up, I was like,
wait, yeah,
it's the grape chair. I'm sorry, but I'm like, where did these come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a little bit of runway, because it is a pretty wide like valley we get to work with here. But I mean, yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's one of those Star Wars things where you just have to be like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, sure. There's gravity on the ships. Why not? Yeah. It's Star Wars, you know.
It's the classic like the plane's taking off runway sequence, and there's just infinite runway.
Infinite runway. Yeah,
I think it's like Fast 5 or 6, whichever one, where there's a plane involved, and like they time out the sequence, and people have even tried to like make it shorter by saying, okay, if all these characters scenes like overlap and we get it really down, it's still like an 8-minute runway.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Which is, I mean, that's like 5 miles if you're doing 60 miles an hour.
It's like a disbelief thing. You just got to separate yourself from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially with Star Wars. Like there's a lot that's very often in it's Star Wars space and everything. So
yeah. So the train, wrecks into the sand. Tuscans, the rest of the village shows up. They're picking it clean for all the loot that's on it. Boba calls forth the leader of the Pikes. He's like, hey, you guys got any spice on you? You guys carrying spice? Like, what's going on here? They're like,
no. What's spice? Never seen it.
I don't know.
What's it look like?
Crate just busts open. Spice into the air.
So is spice is a drug, right?
Yes.
But can it be used for other stuff also?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think it has multiple purposes, but the primary like use is
for drugs.
A drug. Yeah. It's just like an illicit substance that is pretty popular. You have to mine it.
Right.
Which is interesting. I don't think we have any drugs you have to mine.
No.
Heavens forbid we find anything like that.
Yeah, right.
In Star Wars, there's an entire like asteroid planet that is known just for mining spice.
Right.
That'd be like saying Madagascar just becomes like a giant drug mine.
Yeah, I just always assumed it was a drug. I've never really dove into anything about spice. You hear a ton throughout the entire universe, but I just assumed it was a drug. But then there was something that I heard that it would like had a medical use to it or something too. So which is, I mean, makes sense because we have drugs that have medical uses also. So
yeah, it's not like we have an opiate epidemic going on or anything like
exactly.
that. Spice is an illicit substance or substances in demand throughout the galaxy. It's mined. Wookiee slaves did all the work. We won't get into what it's used for, but yeah, that's the gist of it. But he's like, yeah, never heard of it. Man, there it is. He's like, oh, you're in big trouble now. Very like cop, like
yeah, very.
You can't. What you got here? Marijuana. So the Pike, he's just like making this very like pathetic case, like, oh, we're just protecting ourselves from what we thought you guys were uncivilized raiders. Which is another like direct notion to like Native Americans, whereas like, oh, you're just uncivilized savages trying to attack our train, carrying our precious cargo. How dare you through our lands? And they're just protecting their route, even though they just blast, they kind of open fire at every single time. Like first.
Right. Yeah.
So like this dude just has a bad case. Like dude sucks. Boba explains that these sands are the Tuscans, right? And they have ancestral claim to these lands in the Dune Sea. And now, if they are to continue their operation here, they must pay a toll to the Tuscans. Take that back to their syndicate. These are their terms. If you don't like it, it's gonna be ugly.
Yeah.
Because now we can fight you.
Yeah, they said for every Tuscan you'll kill, we'll kill yours tenfold. Yeah, I liked the sequence because it was like the mob boss sequence. Like you want to travel through my lands. You're gonna have to pay a toll when you go through here. So it's like the first time in the timeline that we maybe see him using his crime lord mind to come up with a plan for this train. I thought this whole sequence was cool. I'd love to know, they don't even say who the syndicate is. I'm curious who the syndicate is.
I think it's just the Pike Syndicate because they mine the spice. The Pikes, they got their whole that was the whole arc or just one episode maybe in episode 7 of Clone Wars because Ahsoka gets tied up on the Pike's planet itself. With the sisters.
Right.
I just assume it's the Pike Syndicate, which I believe is it's in competition with like Crimson Dawn and
Black Sun.
The Black Sun and all of that. The Pikes are kind of their own thing from what I understand.
Yeah.
Man, basically he tells them to their complaint to get to walking. As part of their civility, as a sign of how civil they are. They won't kill them anymore.
And we finally get a name for the little watermelon thing, which is black melon, which I thought was, hey, cool. Let's name it. Water pumpkin it is. Yeah.
And that's what they have to, that's their water supply. So like, oh, we won't make it without our water tanker. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna drag that with you? Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
You have to have a train. Oh, heavens forbid! I'm off my carriage.
The water tank probably weighs about as much as the twin huts. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe if there's enough pikes.
But it was like, I happen to have a litter you can borrow because I don't use it myself. Carry that through the desert. Just put like drinking tubes on it. It's like it works against you, like carrying all that water. But yeah, they send them off to Anchorhead, which will take them by sundown. They walk straight toward the suns.
Yep. One black melon each to survive.
So we know
these people have.
They're walking east. We know they're walking east. And I think Jabba's palace, Boba's palace, is to the west. And we are in the southern Dune Sea. Per our map.
Interesting. Per our map, yeah.
Per our map.
That would be right.
They're gonna have to update the map to add all this action that's going on from the show.
Right.
Someone we must know. The chief arrives, right? And he gives this, that you always want this from the chief that doesn't ever speak to you. The nod, right?
The nod, yep.
It's like, good job, buddy.
All you get.
Growing up so fast.
Just the slight nod.
Slight nod. Don't have to say anything. And I just love those cultures where it's just like no spoken words, just
just a nod.
Here's a melon. Next stage, you need a nod. First you get the melon.
First you get the melon. Then you get
the nod. So back at that evening, I assume they're in the chief's tent, and we get a list of fun details here, which I think we've known about Tatooine, but it's nice to have them actually spoken into canon. So the chief explains to Boba that there are many Tuscan tribes. The oceans of Tatooine dried, so they have to stay hidden. And other tribes have survived by killing. So through that, I kind of take it as like they are a more civilized, less violent version of their tribe.
Yes.
With very, very Native American, where there were very violent tribes, and then there were very peaceful tribes.
Yeah.
And their tribe, obviously dressing more fancy, they are a little bit more civilized, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely got the vibe. I figured they were going to go in that route by dressing them all in black and making them look different. They were going to be different from the Tuscans we've seen in the past. Right. But yeah, I like the tribe thing, man. I got to be honest. That's a cool way to look at the Tuscans. There's different tribes. I love the Native American vibe that it has.
I wonder what the oceans drying up have to do with them having to hide.
Yeah, and I would also like to know how that happened, but we'll probably never get that answer.
Global warming.
Yeah, but that's a heck of a lot of global warming.
Hey, man, that's what's going to happen. It just happens overnight. Like, poof.
Yeah, dude, Star Wars is really just like, telling
metaphor.
Yeah,
metaphor for us.
That's what Greta's been trying to warn us about. Haven't you paid attention, White Tim Pool? Come on, bro. Jab.
Meanwhile, though, also in Star Wars,
just shut that down.
global warming happened. Or climate change happened on Camino. But the opposite happened. It flooded.
Yeah.
Oh man, big ice caps means your whole planet floods.
Yep.
I think that's what we're gonna flood, right? Is that the problem, or is it all gonna dry up? I don't know.
No, I think we're gonna flood.
Are we Tatooine or are we Camino?
Man, better start building those Camino tower thingies.
Tower City, downtown Cleveland. But Boba claims they should not have to hide. They're warriors. But also these other tribes, though, these are obviously, there must be a very violent, like, gross tribe that hangs out by, like, Mos Espa and, you know, the ones we commonly see all the time. Those are just, like, the violent, like, mean ones. These Tuscans look down upon that sort of behavior.
Yeah.
But the chief says, like, the off-worlders have machines. And Boba says, you now have machines, and you know every grain of sand in the Dune Sea. So basically, you know the land, you have some machines to fight back. And then the chief presents a gift. And this is a very, very cool gift and a very cool sequence.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's a humorous scene because he just gives him this little, like, reminds me of like a Chinese kind of like cage for like a lizard. Opens it, and Boba's like, oh, a lizard.
Yeah,
what the hell am I gonna do with a little tiny lizard? Then he just like, he just hits him with spice, or just like sand, and the lizard just goes straight up his nose.
Yeah, I thought that whole sequence was hilarious, dude, because he's like trying to be nice, like, oh, thanks, I will let it lead me, and then he just pops him in the face with this, and then it crawls, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I think I swallowed it.
It's a tough little bugger.
Yeah.
Or whatever he says.
It's a great like cultural subversion of our expectations, because usually in like Western cultures, like you do something great for the team, you get like a nice reward, and it's like usually pretty straightforward and pleasant. In a more tribal sense, you get like smacked in the face with some dust, and a lizard crawls up your nose.
Right.
You hallucinate through the night and go on a pilgrimage.
Yeah.
You go on a pilgrimage to a tree in the desert, which you get a branch from that you will be used to craft your tribal weapon.
Right.
Yeah. And this sequence of him in the desert is really cool because we get flashbacks of his life. And there was like the scenes of obviously like Camino and stuff, but we do get like one toward the end that is just like straight up water, which is like around the tree. So it's almost like, was it like the past of Tatooine, right? Like an ocean of. So I didn't know if that was like Camino, or they were kind of saying like he was also seeing visions of this tree's past.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that.
That tree was like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say something stupid, so go ahead.
So I did want to just point out the Camino scenes we haven't seen before, right? We've never seen Boba looking out the window and seeing Jango fly away, right?
Episode 1 was a reuse of the Geonosis scene, but this was a new one where he's watching his father fly away in the ship, obviously going on a bounty mission, but
a sad Kermit meme.
Yeah, it was. Boba, like he has feelings about his father leaving him on Camino all the time. Poor guy.
Yeah.
I was just now you can say,
go ahead and say your stupid comment.
It's not gonna be funny now. But, I was just gonna say, I'll just pretend like this. So yeah, that tree must have been like so lonely, bro. It's just like all hugging on Boba as soon as he got there. Just like, let me wrap my sweet tree branch arms around you. I've longed for an embrace.
Anyway, Boba makes it back to the village in the morning. Tree branch and all, very tired, exhausted, gives the branch to the chief, who then gives it to the master Tuscan warrior. And then he heads off to the tent to get, refreshed, gets his nose powdered and stuff. And they dress him in his tribal garments, which is great because these are the ones that we've seen him don since Mandalorian. And now under his armor as Boba Fett. So he's replaced the the white pajama outfit that he's rocked since episode 6. And now he's rocking the Tuscan, I don't know what to call them, garbs, outfit, robes. So that was like the first step in him. You know, he walks out of the tent. He's hooded. He's finally has clothes. He's in his pajamas for weeks.
He's in his pajamas for weeks.
I mean, as a bounty hunter, he rocked like old Boba Fett was just wearing like whitey tighties under there.
Yeah, that's true. That's my one. That's the one thing I don't like about his new gear is that it's black underneath everything, right?
And it kind of has like the duster skirt, like below, down low.
Just not into it for whatever reason.
He's a different man, or he's a different.
It's true.
Different Boba.
Because it's obviously his Tuscan stuff under there now. We assume, right?
Yeah.
I do love how as soon as he gets like all this cool garb, he walks out hooded, and he's like, "Oh crap, it's so hot!" Like immediately takes it off. Biosiv says, "Geez, y'all are still going at it. Do the companion series usually rock this long, or is this show just that magical?" I believe it's a combination of the two, my good friend. We go deep, bro. Deep.
And
I say a lot of dumb stuff that eats up a lot of minutes.
Just like, where did you even come up with the tree thing, man? There's like such cool stuff going on there. You're like, oh, the tree, he's so lonely. Look, he's giving him a hug.
I was just like, man, this is the opposite of like a tree hugger. It's like a hugging tree, you know? I don't know. Don't ask.
Yeah, just
inside the mind of Mike. Here we are.
Yeah.
And I think they go longer when I do the write-ups because I just put way too many details in there that are just unnecessary. But that's my problem.
It's kind of the point of a companion series.
No, it's not. It's the end in 59 minutes.
Yeah.
Mike
that will
and I
never happen for a Showboy show.
We used to, but we quickly were like, we're not. It's not going to work.
Yeah,
we did like 3 Mando episodes. And never looked.
It's tough to do with Star Wars, especially, or like Marvel. Yeah. There's just so much to dive into, you know.
I know it was freaking Tashi Station. Like, who knew that? Chad knew that, and we had, things take time.
Yeah,
and then we have to bake in Mike's jokes.
You guys love him though.
Yeah,
I think I got maybe Chad.
Yeah, you had me
up a little bit.
Yeah, you had my chest hurting a little bit over here. Not gonna lie.
Did you like mute your computer? Because
so I have I push to talk every time that we're on here.
Nice.
So anytime
Smart,
I'm talking.
Man.
Anytime I'm talking, I'm pushing a button. When I'm not talking, I'm
nice. Because I was like, how is he not making any noise while laughing?
No, I was making quite a lot of noises over here.
I haven't pushed the talk since Ventrilo.
I know, dude.
Like
oh, shout out Ventrilo. Good old Vent. Anyways, this is why our episodes are an hour and 38 minutes talking about a 43-minute show.
It's 48 minutes.
Okay.
Anyways, he gets his attire. His kiddo friend that he met all the way back in episode 1, which wasn't that long ago, but they're best friends. He leads him off to where the master warrior of the tribe and the armor, the smithy, the gaffy crafter, it's like, hey, there's my branch that I just went through the desert and got. What are we doing with it? Oh, we're about to carve it, craft it, and it's not going to get crafted for you, Boba. You have to pitch in and help do it yourself and add your own touches to it. And I love this sequence. Yeah, it was a great sequence because at first I was like, oh, this dude's going to make his stick. Cool. No, you have to help make it. And they showed a lot of details that I didn't appreciate about it. Like the main upper part, end is wood with the fancy crafted part, but then it gets metal where they fuse in the metal, and then it's like the pointed weapon end of it.
The stabby part.
The stabby, kind of like a pointy mace.
But even the other wood on the top, kind of after they're done, looks like metallic, because of the
they put it in the forge.
Yeah, this was cool because my aunt and uncle went to Africa when I was a kid and brought back a weapon that some tribe in Africa uses.
This
It's
is
very
like a
similar.
bio story right here.
I
Like,
know,
tell
right?
me more.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm missing is like you were in Africa, because bio
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
been like I was in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my parents, when I was 7, sent me off to the frozen tundras of Siberia, where
Yeah.
I got this amazing tiger pelt. that
So anyway, the weapon is almost identical to this thing. It's got
Oh.
a wood upper and then a metal like spear point at the end of it that's fused into it.
Nice.
So it was cool. I like the way they did it.
Yeah, it was once again another great sequence montage
Yeah.
of, because then I was like, I forgot how long this was, because it's a decent amount of seconds, or
It
maybe
is.
even be like a minute, where it's just like they are going through it, and like Boba's like, he's sweating, he's working,
Yep.
he's building
He
this
keeps
thing.
looking back at the
Yeah.
guy to make sure he's doing it right.
Am I supposed to be doing this? Do you really want me to do it? You have to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he crafts his tribal weapon, and that evening, it took him all day. That evening, he goes to the fire where the rest of the warriors of the tribe, they all looked like the warriors of the tribe, and
Yeah.
him and the master ninja Tuscan square off over the fire, and they start the ritual dance, which
Yeah.
was Boba's rebirth as a warrior, as an honorary member of the tribe, and really, I guess his freedom, because at this point I'm pretty sure he doesn't need permission to do
Right.
anything anymore. Like the beginning of the episode where he asked to leave,
Mhm.
he's ascended.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love this whole sequence here. Like I said, I mean, it makes sense that you said that this is what they should have ended on. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm a little less butthurt about that now. But I did want to see. You know, I feel like we're getting a lot of Tuscan stuff so far in these first couple episodes, which I love. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to see the other stuff too. So I'm sure you're right. It's going to flip at some point. But yeah, the whole dance scene. I mean, it's very Native American. Like I said, man, it's cool. First time I watched it, I was like, I mean, it's a little awkward. Especially Boba. Boba doing the dance was a little awkward.
Turns into a musical.
Yeah, and then but the
Sign
second time I
language
enjoyed
musical.
it. Yeah, sign language musical. The second time I really enjoyed it. So, you know.
Yeah, I think it's cool because it is like a mix of Native American tradition and stuff, but also like, you know, New Zealand, they do the haka stuff, and
Right.
so like it's
New Zealand, even African,
like Hawaii, like
Yeah.
they do a lot of the haka dance with the warriors and stuff. So like it could also be a cool callback to
his
Yeah.
I was even going to say, like, in like WWF, The Rock had like, he did those crazy faces too when he was wrestling.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, man. It was I'd agree with Chad that where I was a little bit like, okay, this is kind of a little weird, but then I'm like, okay, I get it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely picked up on a lot more of like the meta that was going on throughout this episode with like the whole Tuscan world than I did the first time. Because there's like two layers. There's like the actual what's going on, but then there's like all these symbolic things that are happening to him
Yeah.
throughout the episode. And I'm like, all right, this is real cool. And the whole like fire dance and then cut to black end episode. I was like, makes sense. I like it.
Yeah.
Approved.
Yeah.
And it was 48 minutes long.
Right.
That's like twice the length of some Mando episodes.
Yeah. See, I wish they were all like this, to be honest with you. We'll see. Maybe Boba will be a little bit more, but there were some Mando episodes were like obnoxiously short, especially in the first season. You're like, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, this is like a teaser for an episode, not
There's
an actual
legit like
episode.
a 23-minute episode. I remember Mike and I like
I like, well,
griping
yeah.
about that. It's like,
this
well,
is,
that
don't
was
really
our
know what
less
to
than
talk
an hour
about.
episode.
Right. So it's like I don't know if it maybe in Mando they were not sure if it was going to catch on, so they didn't want to dump a ton of money into it, because I think the episodes get longer in season 2. But
I mean,
they should know that a Boba Fett series is going to catch on. So
right, that and like Mando is definitely more the spaghetti western short kind of story, whereas like Boba, like it's a limited series, assumedly 7 episodes, and Boba, like they're building a pretty rich story about V2 Boba here.
Right.
So
yeah, it's just it's the Disney Plus style of doing shows where they're basically like, really long movies essentially if you put them all together.
Yeah. Well, the thing that's interesting is I don't know if any of these series so far, Marvel or Star Wars, like have set times.
No.
Like they just however long it takes to tell that
Creative freedom.
episode story, like that's what you're gonna get, which I think is kind of cool. It can be a bit of a bummer when you run into those like 23-minute Mando episodes, but I think it's a cool little creative freedom that they have to just like whatever you need to tell your story.
Right.
The frog lady in Mando, I think that was like the shortest Mando episode. That was like 23 minutes long.
Oh yeah.
But I mean that's a plus, that's a pro and a con. Like if they're gonna be like, yeah, don't try to force it to be 38 minutes long. If it's gonna be 25, well.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's just my hang up with majority of the time when I watch a lot of this stuff, I'm in bed and I don't want to watch a 23-minute episode. I want it to be like an hour long at least. That's just my personal taste. I've never had a problem with like Game of Thrones running an hour solid, The Sopranos running an hour solid, but the anime stuff and Clone Wars, the like 20-minute episodes, just like, why?
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could be longer.
And I think I forgot to mention this earlier, but I might rate the episodes based on how many screenshots I take to make the art. Because I only had like 1 or 2 for the last one because there really wasn't a great variety. It was just a lot of Fennec and Boba standing there.
Right.
This one there's I took 6 and I stopped. I was like, I have to find one in one of the 6 that I took.
That you took, yeah.
And that wasn't even looking like beyond. Then like after I did that, I was like, I thought of 3 more, but I was like,
right,
I'm gonna go with the one.
Yeah.
Should have got the scene of the lizard leaving his nose, like mid leaving with
yeah.
I try to leave it. I try to pick it to be a very unspoilerly segue from the last episode to the next. So the lizard one would have been too like, what the hell?
Yeah. I agree. So where do we think we're heading with the Tuscans? Are these guys going to all get slaughtered in some fashion? And
Anakin
that's why Boba, Anakin shows up and just slaughters them all? Or is Boba going to leave them for something? I kind of feel like they're going to all get killed and he's going to be like a lone survivor type deal.
I could
maybe by the Pikes, coming back, not wanting to pay their toll.
I feel like that would be too deep. That would be too much on that. But I see what you're saying. I feel like there will be something that drives him off because we're still many years from him getting his armor back.
Right.
Many years.
Yeah.
So
we're years from that. We got to find out where his ship is. He's got to go get his ship at some point too, right?
Where did I park that thing?
Yeah. So.
Dang, that thing's in a hangar. So it chilled in a hangar for like a few months in like Mos Eisley or Mos Espa, wherever he parked it. I assume he would have parked it at the palace though.
I assumed it was parked at the palace also, but I'm also curious if somebody took it, assuming he was dead, because he's to the rest of the world known as dead right now, or less. Probably a good chunk of the galaxy knows that he fell into the Sarlacc pit, and he might be the only person to survive a Sarlacc pit. So
did he get his armor first or the ship first? Like that would be something cool to figure out. So like, I wonder if at sometime in the series he is going to go back to the palace, confront Bib Fortuna, and was like, "Yo, dude,
for his
I need my ship.
I need my keys, bro."
And he can't get it for whatever reason. Like either like you're not Boba, like or like something weird like that, where they kind of they answer why he's been in the desert of Tatooine for 8 years until Mando shows up.
Right. That's interesting because nobody's going to recognize him without his armor also. So that's a good point.
Right. They could also kick their ass. So, I mean,
yeah, true.
I can't wait till he stumbles across Fennec out there just bleeding out from Mando.
So, So we've been rewatching Mando because Mason likes Grogu, and every time he sees Grogu on the screen, he's like Grogu. So he watches Mando for what it's worth, for not being a kid show. So we're on the episode where Fennec shows up, and they have that little like sniper duel because he's helping the other bounty hunter. And I was like, what the hell is she doing on Tatooine? So I almost feel like we might get Fennec earlier on. Like he may meet Fennec sometime in this Tuscan timeline, and she might have been coming back to help him get his armor or just help him do something. They might be in league before the first time we see Fennec.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why is she out in the middle of the desert on Tatooine in Mando? Because they never answered that in the show that I know of. And then he finds her, left for dead.
Yeah.
In the desert. And like, why would he just find her? I think they already knew each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe we'll get a background on them meeting for the first time outside of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only time will tell.
Yep.
Speaking of time.
Yeah.
Speaking
of
recap.
There you go. Thank you for driving the episode tonight, Nick. You did a fantastic job.
Oh, thanks. It was a good one because it was there's a lot of little stuff in this one. I think it was a pretty big episode.
For sure.
For being episode 2. We'll see if maybe we'll get like a hour episode out of this series. Who knows?
It'd be epic.
Hope so.
Maybe the finale is like a movie.
That would be cool too. Yeah.
Calling it.
It's actually what episode 8 is. Like at the end of 7, they're like the compendium of Boba.
Yeah.
Coming to theaters near you. But yeah, good job. It's a great episode. And always fun to break it down with you guys, of course. To those of you who dropped by, said hi in chat, thank you guys for tuning in. And for the rest of you listening after the fact, we're thankful that you decided to click the link and check out the Boba companion series. If you like what you heard, please consider subscribing. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. If you are interested in supporting the show, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.com/showboyspodcast. Link is in the episode description. We also have a merch store that you can check out. The link is in the episode description as well. And yeah, I don't know. We don't have anything going on until Thursday, right?
Correct.
No newscast?
I think we did it last week.
It was last week.
Party on, Garth.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, make sure you stop by Thursday. We'll be talking about, I don't know, something.
Crap.
9:00 here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And I'm sure in the meantime, there will be streams of some sort throughout the week of various video game stuffs. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Shout out to SJT for letting us use his Boba Fett theme song remix that we are going to play you guys out to. Go check out his pages. All of his channel links and social media pages are in the episode description. Thank you again for letting us use this song, and enjoy. We'll see you on Thursday, hopefully. Good night.
Hopefully. top 3. I'm the top 3.
Indeed.
Seems fair.